This is Johnnie
Yes.
Nathan. How are you?
Johnnie Nathan, how are you?
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
Very surprised. Oh, wow. How are you? Johnny Nathan, what's going on?
Oh, listening to you by way of telephone. I was just so into that song that you were just playing. It sounded like Mr. Gibb, actually from Bessemer, Alabama.
Yo, Mr. Gibb is another one holding the torch.
I thought I was listening to him then, and I'm like, wow, that didn't sound like Gibb. Wow.
Yeah, that was the last thing I played was Skip James.
Skip James.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, some of those classic blues icons back in the days of the certain sound that they gave. I'm still learning.
No, that's
And I'm
okay.
66 years old.
Are you really? I'm very surprised, especially the way you're performing now.
Well, sometimes the older you get, the better you are. As they say, you age like wine with time. So I
Oh, there you
I
go.
guess the older I guess the older I'm getting, the more people are getting to know about me. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, that's good. So let's talk about you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Miss Johnnie Nathan on the line. She is currently holding the torch for women of the blues. There's a lot of women of the blues, but we're focusing on you. And she's going in and performing. And if I'm not mistaken, you were just as well inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame too, correct?
Well, yeah, that's correct. I actually the couple that introduced Alabama to the Blues Hall of Fame, Shy Baby and Mr. Jim Newport. Shy Baby, of course, is a world-known country hill blues singer, black lady from Indiana who came here to Birmingham and has made this home. They traveled and was introduced to this program from a gentleman named Dan Moreau out of California.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what he wanted to do was give the accolades to people in statewide, who may have never gotten the national attention and have been singing for all their lives and, wearing the shoes out and the vocal cords out on the local
and
level.
the fingers out.
Yeah. The brains and all, just traveling, playing, for 50 cents or whatever, and at some point still, the whole band might make $50 for 5 hours and what have you. But anyway,
and still have to buy drinks after that.
but the beauty of the introduction of the Blues Hall of Fame, for the states has caught on, and it seems to be really, really building a momentum. As opposed to the National Blues Hall of Fame. So
right.
The first year for Alabama was 2014, held here in Birmingham. And, of course, I was inducted at that time as ambassador of the blues for Alabama.
Wow.
I think they were impressed with the fact that I love music so much. And everywhere you looked, I was always popping my face in somewhere. And I loved Sharp Baby. Her style of singing was just, it was so smooth, and it would just remind me so much of the songs that I grew up on. So, but anyway, long story short, I was inducted at that time. So here it is, 2017. They did one last year as well. But this year they decided to kind of upgrade me as a vocalist, as an artist. So this year I went in as a great blues artist. So
that is great.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, hold on. Are you saying that you have 2 inductions?
Well, yeah, it sounds, all grandeur and all. But I think it's just them by way of saying, well, okay, we didn't do it the first time, so let's correct that now and just, take you in as a singer as opposed to just an ambassador. Let's give credit to your vocals.
Well, I mean,
that's my way of thinking.
Right, but it's nothing to be minimized because your work all around is being appreciated and it's not going unnoticed, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, but I have to, and I see exactly the point that was being made. But just understand me, Jack. I have just never really been one to just turn cartwheels over things that I've done. I guess that's why I don't seem to sound like I'm just overwhelmed by it. I love it and I appreciate it, but that's just me.
Right. It's part of the core. It's part of your journey. I dig it. So now let's get into your journey. Okay. So first and foremost, I want you all, the audience, to understand. So we're speaking to Miss Johnnie Nathan. She is a Blues Hall of Famer. She is a blues ambassador. She is a vocalist. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your journey. Now, usually, and I hate to sound like this, but I just got to call it like it is. It's hard to ask a black person, where did you meet the blues and how did you get inspired by the blues, because it is kind of our experience. But I would like to ask you in regards to your professional career, when you knew you wanted to start singing and who inspired you. How did this happen?
Oh, wow. I can take that back all the way to my preteen years, actually. I was probably 10, 11, 12 years old, and as black people do, we start out in the church.
Yeah.
and so I lived next door to a church on a place called Paul's Hill in South Bessemer. People who are from Bessemer, Alabama, or people from the state of Alabama may know of that little town. But anyway, there was a family of singers that lived on Paul's Hill, and I would always just sit and just revel at the young lady who was a soloist in the choir, and she just sang like a bird, like a beautiful bird. And I would always say, wow, I sure wish I could sing like her. And when you're little, when you're a child, you don't really know that you can do things. You just know you're doing things.
Absolutely.
Right. And so as I began to get a little older, I found myself in middle school doing variety shows and actually singing songs by Sam Cooke.
Well, I mean, it gets no more black spirituals and blues than Sam Cooke.
You know what I mean? Standing here, baby, with a matchbox hole in my clothes. I'm standing at the bus station. He's trying to get away, and he's just so distraught about what that woman has done to him. And he said sometimes he just don't understand what that woman, how he can take what that woman has done to him.
Yeah.
And then you got Jackie Wilson back in that time singing songs like Danny Boy.
Yeah.
I don't know if people on the East Coast would be familiar with that song, but that was
they better be.
You do.
But you could sing it.
And I as a little girl, and I had a neighborhood a big brother, I call him. He used to sing it, and I used to love to hear him sing it. So when it came time for variety shows, I did it. I did Danny Boy by Jackie Wilson, and not to mention Aretha Franklin back at that time. Aretha was singing the blues too.
Yes, she was, and the black spiritual.
Save me, somebody save me, and and so I kind of became known as Little Riri.
Wow. Okay. Now, what does that mean?
Aretha Franklin, singing her songs, yeah.
Wow.
Ain't no way, and oh Lord, if you had a dollar and I had a dime, I wonder could I borrow yours as easy as you could mine. Oh Lord, if they went back and pulled up some things that Aretha Franklin did back in the in the 60s and 70s, oh wow, you'd be amazed at the blues. So those were kind of my influences. That's where I began. I didn't know it was the blues, but I knew it was beautiful music. And as I got older, I ventured into the gospel arena. You know, I started out in a neighborhood band with some guys, and we were singing, you know, at 15 and 16, or actually 14, 15, and 16. We were going into clubs. They would sneak us in because we weren't supposed to be in that environment. But we would perform. We would perform and get paid, and the people would throw money. I would sing songs like "Make Me Yours." I never had a love to call my own. I was about to give up, and then you came along and "Make Me Yours." You know, I was singing my butt off and didn't know I was singing the blues.
Well, you know, let's talk about that for a second, because just to equate it to our experience in terms of community and family, me personally and many other black folk that I've spoken to, I mean, even some white folk, but I'm keeping it in regards to African American tribal music and the black experience. You hear often, when we were growing up, we didn't know we was poor. You know, because you had this, you had that. We was growing up. So now you say you didn't know, you were just singing. You didn't know it was the blues. It was just our culture. How? So does that? Could that mean, rather than does that mean? Could that mean that the title blues is really just a title given to sell it, but this is just black tribal music?
Well, you know, when we think about what is the blues is a feeling. The blues can be a style or a kind of music, and it could be an influence on a sound. So, I think about the slaves. You know, I don't think anybody human can even imagine what these people were feeling. And they were being brought from one continent to another, but they were in bondage. They were chained and thrown into the ships like animals. You know, they had feelings.
Absolutely.
And eventually we started to hearing all of those stories of how they would probably moan and hum and eventually make some kind of sound that turned into what sounded like a song, or maybe some kind of melody or some kind of rhythm or some kind of pattern, if you will. And it eventually probably started to be captured later on in other eras as music. But for them, it was feelings. And I guess they didn't know any other way to express but to hum or maybe cry. Maybe that crying came out as a form or a style. Eventually, you know, people put labels to things, but at the time, like I said, when you're doing things, a lot of times you don't know what you're doing. You're just doing.
That's right.
So
that's right.
These slaves probably created, without a doubt, the blues.
That's right.
I don't care what anybody says. Johnnie Nathan feels like the blues came from the slaves.
All right, I hear that. Who else had the right to feel blue?
You know, despondent. You know, sad, pain. You know, you're taken away from your habitat. You're being cruelly treated. You got chains on you like animals. You're not even considered to be human. What in the world could you be feeling?
I hear that.
You know, God, Jack, it makes me shudder to even think about it now. Anybody who's listening, I challenge you what could you be feeling when you have to go through that?
It's real.
And then as I got older and coming into learning how to sing different kinds of music, at age 17, to bring us back to my journey,
That's right.
learning how music, can bring you along and how you're affected by it. Well, I left the band side and went to a gospel group. And, of course, being introduced to that arena from the church end, and then you're out there performing in these churches and these gospel programs, and you're traveling across the state, and you're on stage with some of the greatest in the gospel arena, national people like Shirley Caesar back in the day when she was, donning that afro, that little short afro, and looked like a choir robe. And she was tearing that stage up, Jack. She wasn't singing pretty. She was singing. She was singing.
She was singing.
She was singing. She was sweating and like a Brahma bull, and she was down on her knees, and she was calling on the Lord, and she was talking about how children just disrespect their mothers, and Mama, don't drive your children away, and Lord, help me hold my mule, and singing about all that stress and all those troubles and all those things that people are going through. But she was singing. She wasn't singing. But anyway, I learned that in singing gospel, you're singing about the blues.
I hear that.
Yes, the name of our group was called Blind Billy and the Gospel Revelettes, and Blind Billy we only had a piano. We didn't have all the other instruments. So we learned how to sing together harmony-wise. And our voices were the instruments. And there was a song that he would have me to sing called, "Oh Lord, Have Mercy." And he would start it out. This song was written by Alex Bradford, who's also a Bessemer, Alabama native. He was during the era with James Cleveland and some of the greatest composers of gospel that you could think of. But the song was a song that the people were crying out, "Oh Lord, have mercy. When I'm in trouble, oh Lord, please have mercy on me." And Lord, I was probably 17 years old, Jack, but I promise you, I learned to sing that song because I was in what I thought a love situation. And I needed to get out of that love situation because the young man was no good for me, but I didn't have sense enough to know it. But it was one of those.
That's a blues lyric right there. It is,
baby. It was such a hard situation that my neighbor, the older lady that lived next door to us, would hear me crying sometimes in the evening when he'd come through and do little things to me and hurt my heart and break it, and then he'd move on, and I'd be sitting out there on the steps crying, and I can never forget the day she called me up. She says, "Come here, baby." She said, "Do you know how to pray?" Now, mind you, I'm singing in this gospel group along with these people singing all this music. And she said, "Do you know how to pray?" I said, "No, ma'am." She said, "Well, you know how to say your prayers, don't you?" "Yes, ma'am." "You know the Lord's Prayer, don't you?" "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Well, next time you get on your knees and you say that Lord's Prayer and you say it like you mean it." She said, and the Lord will move that man away from your heart. And I promise you, I learned how to sing the blues in a gospel tone from that point on.
I hear that.
And so I learned to listen to the words to songs during that arena, and things like Dorothy Love Coates would do a song called "Lord, Don't Move My Mountain. Just give me the strength to climb." So, being in that arena with these people, the Mighty Clouds of Joy, the Violinaires from Detroit. Oh, God, I've been on stage with some of the greatest when I was a teenager. So I saw and heard and listened.
I hear.
And so the blues was coming to me. But then again, I can also remember in the neighborhood where just like the song you was playing as you came on, the one-man band, I'd call them. I could remember also.
Robert Johnson?
Yeah, that sound. I could remember there was a man in the neighborhood, Gip, for a good example. See, I lived 2 streets over from Gip when I was a little girl.
Wow.
Excuse me. So I can remember the sound of that guitar being just strumming that guitar. Didn't make the music didn't make sense of a hill of beans, but it was a sound that was in the air. And if you went around close enough, you would hear him, making his tune. He would be, I don't call it singing, but it was some sound coming out, and the words were being put in song form. And I can remember the gentleman who would come around the neighborhood, and the old folks used to party. They would be in the backyard frying fish with the fish pot.
That's right.
And here come that man with that guitar, and he got his old ruffled suit on, and he has this thing around his neck that looks like a contraption, but he has fixed it where it would be a harmonica, where he could play his harmonica and strum the guitar at the same time.
Okay, now.
And then
this was Mr. Gibb?
Well, Gibb didn't have, I don't recall him having that contraption around his neck, but he would have the guitar sound all up in the air. It's kind of like somebody is blowing a horn, and the air is taking that vibration and sending it all across the community.
Oh my goodness! All right.
That's what Gibb would be doing down in his yard, and then he'd have those wannabes. Yes, and then Jack, he'd have those wannabes down there want to learn how to play, and he would be teaching them how to
play the blues.
Yes, how to play. They thought it was music, but it was the blues that Gibb was teaching them. And
I hear that.
And back then you had several young men they were older than I was, but they were learning. I could call names out. They never made it big, but they were awesome players. Growing up under them, Tim Green, Freddie Lee Franklin, Eugene Patton.
Wow.
These were guys who would probably put Albert King, Freddie King, probably even put B.B. King to shame.
Wow. Are they still alive now, any of them?
As far as I know, one, I thought they said he was still living, Eugene Patton. I'm not really, really, really sure. But I know Freddie Franklin and Tim Green died when I was probably in my early, probably 20s or 30s.
Okay.
Because, you see, these were people when I was a teenager.
Right.
But this is where... This is where my learning of the process of hearing music and later finding out that it was the blues. As life rolls on, things that you didn't know, you come to know that you were knowing all along.
That's the truth.
You just didn't know you knew that.
You dropping the truth right now.
Yes, we as we grow, we learn, but we just don't know we are learning. We are told that we are learning things, but a lot of the things that we've learned, it doesn't come back to us until later on.
Right.
It's kind of like I always used to say about. I wrote a song called "There's Somewhere in Between." I just never recorded it yet, but it was always about as a parent. I would think about how I used to tell my daughter things, and as she got older, I could see it was coming out of her, but at the time I was telling her, she didn't know that she was taking it in. And
that's right.
And it was same thing for me when I was growing up. That was things I was being told, but as I grew older, I guess I didn't really act on it until I got older, and it was coming back. So it was somewhere in between those years.
I hear that. Well, I will say, and Scripture says, raise them up in the way you want them to go, and they won't depart.
Yeah. It's somewhere in between, and sometimes it will return, and then sometimes I don't know, because we're living in some times now, Jack. You talking about the blues?
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, if nobody knows what the blues is, let me share to the world, to those who are listening, we are living the blues.
Mm. That all I can say is church. Because
We
it's
are
the truth.
really living the blues, honey. But to back to my journey, that's where I started from the church house as they say, from the church house to the blue to the shacks, and then to the stages, and then as I got older, I began to. As a matter of fact, that I know you know Frederick Knight.
Yes.
In the age of 17, as we were out there singing strong, I met him through one of my high school teachers, his sister-in-law, and of course didn't know that the man was a singer, songwriter, what have you. But the word got out about our group, and we were asked to come to the recording studio. And they wanted to use our vocals as background to a lot of the things that were being done in the studio. And that's how I came to know of him. And actually, my vocals can be heard on the flip side of his song called "Been Lonely for So Long." I've been lonely for so long. The flip side is called "Lean on Me," not the Bill Withers version, but Frederick Knight's version of "Lean on Me."
Right.
It is a different song, but we were fortunate enough to have our voices on that. There were many people. I met Chuck Jackson. I didn't know who Chuck Jackson was, but I met him at that time. Peggy Scott and JoJo Benson, you know, the Picking Mile Mountain Berry group.
Wow.
Back at that time, you hanging around that studio, you see and hear, and you meet people that, you know, they were just people to me. Roscoe Robinson, the man had been famous for years before I met him.
Wow.
Yes,
wow.
Roscoe Robinson he'd be sitting in there in the studio. You know who I am? No, sir. You see that picture up there? Yes, sir. But that don't look like you. And he told me, I'm going to call you Tweaker from now on because you got a mouth on you.
I hear that. Oh.
So you see, my history goes back, way back. But at the same time, as I've gotten older, I can carry those treasures in my heart. But I've never been one to be out there to just throw it in the air. You know, as I said earlier, I'm just not one to talk about myself in terms of what I've done.
Right.
But at the same time, you get compared to other people, what they're doing. So sometimes they think you've never done anything because they don't know.
Exactly. And then that's when you have to show them. That's when you got to show them.
As the old folks say, I'm not one to talk, but let me just share a few things with you.
I hear that. Well, listen, I'm really honored and happy that you're on the show. You can stick around. We got Garland, Floyd on the line discussing. Are you going to be in Chicago this weekend? Hello?
Who's that?
Are you going to be in Chicago this weekend?
Me?
Yes.
Oh no, Johnnie Nathan will be in Alabama. You know, I'm an Alabama girl.
Okay, no, I hear that. Well, because there's a Blues Hall of Fame going on this weekend. You can stick around on the line if you want. I'm about to bring in Garland Floyd, and he's going to talk with us about the Chicago Blues Hall of Fame that's happening Sunday at Buddy Guy's Legend. So if you want to stick around, you can.
Yeah. Well, now let me ask you. Listen, let me congratulate you as well, because I understand that you're being inducted. So now, what state will you be? Is it where will you be inducted?
I was inducted last Wednesday at B.B. King's in New York for the New York Blues Hall of Fame.
All right, this is the house that Jack built, y'all. Deliver this house. Congratulations.
Thank you. You know, I'm going to be running that for the rest of this entire show, wherever I can. Thank you very much. I went up there with a cane, half bent over, like I was a 96-year-old bluesman.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yes, I did. Let me introduce Garland. Stay on the line and ride with us, Brother Garland.
Okay, sweetie.
Brother Garland, super duper blues promoter. I don't know anyone as active in every level of blues from prior to James Brown to this day. What's going on, bro?
I'm all right. How you doing, Jack? And say
I'm all right. I'm all right.
Your listeners.
Yeah, this chiller. This guy's smooth as silk. Do you know Johnnie Nathan?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, we're going to make this introduction right now. Brother Garland, Floyd, this is Miss Johnnie Nathan, Alabama Blues right there.
All right. How you doing, Miss Nathan?
I'm doing wonderful, Brother Garland. How are you?
I'm just fantastic. I heard you talking about Frederick Knight, and I remember that record. I've been lonely for so long. Right.
And listen, Garland, being young people as we were listening to him while he was sitting there kind of like creating it and stuff, and we were laughing at it because it was stupid to me.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That reminds me of a similar experience I had. I was friends with Carl Davis. Carl Davis was the vice president of Brunswick Records and discovered Jackie Wilson and the Shy-Lites.
Okay.
Well, he did a lot of recording with the Dells, and he had invited me to come and listen to a recording of, the Dells record.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there now. I'm thinking I've worked for James Brown. I had done some shows and things. I considered myself, somewhat astute in listening and things. And they stopped the tape. Carl stopped, and I was also there with a guy named Granville White. Granville White was the first black A&R person that CBS Records had on the street. And we called him Granny White. So Granny and Carl were, of course, in charge of the recording session. And Carl stopped them. He said, hold it. I said, well, what's wrong? He said, Marvin Jr. is popping the mic. So I'm listening. I don't hear it. At all. Of course, I'm not Carl Davis. I don't have that kind of musical ear. But I don't hear it. And from that day on, I recognized why these people who are geniuses in the studio, when they hear things, and I'm sure, Miss Nathan, you've been in the studio a long time, and you would be the same way. You would hear a whole lot of things that I wouldn't ever hear. As long as I can keep popping my fingers and the beat's still going, I'm all right.
Well, see, that's like now, Garland. I don't play an instrument, but I tell them a lot of times when the musicians are playing with me, somebody's flat. And they will get insulted, And I'm like, listen, I wore headsets on my ears in that studio. I can hear it. I can tell you when you're wrong. I can't tell you what you're doing, but I can tell you you're wrong.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't tell you nothing. I don't know nothing. You could be flat. You could be long as it sounds good, and I'm popping my fingers. I'm good with it. but these guys were pros. And they were trying to produce something that is a work of art, and that's how much they put into recording. I worked for James Brown in 1975 with his TV show in Atlanta called Future Shot.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I came down there for a taping one time with a young lady who was a poet. And she loved James Brown. She lied and told us he was going to have her on the show, and we drove down there with her.
So y'all were there. Listen, let me tell you something. James, that was the wildest experience that I've ever had. James wanted nothing to do with anything that was scripted. He didn't want to work on the script. So
he wanted to free Willie.
He was free willing the whole thing.
Mm.
They had Dick Clark down there. Dick Clark came in on his private jet to appear on this program. What's that white guy's name that had the big hair and Wayne Cochran? Wayne Cochran was on there.
Wow.
Oh yeah, this was something, man. Dick Clark came on there and him and James got into an argument on camera about whether Dick could call him James or not. Dick Clark said, well, Mr. Brown, everybody that works for you, even the people that grew up with you call you Mr. Brown. So I want to call you Mr. Brown. James said, no, Dick, you call me James. Said, no, I want to call you Mr. Brown. No, Dick, you call me James. Oh man, I said, oh man, this man is out there, okay?
Well,
but you gotta give it to him, Garland. He was a genius.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolute genius. He was an absolute
now hold on.
Genius.
This is a great segue because based on from July 25th, 2017, the press release and what's the term? When you brought to the public that you guys are putting on this Blues Hall of Fame induction at Buddy Guy's Legends. Yeah. Throughout your career up until this point, especially what we discussed about how you had to work this actual production, did you utilize some of the stuff that you learned from James Brown to make sure it stayed what it was supposed to be and where it was supposed to be?
Oh, sure. My initial involvement in it, this is the 5th year that they've had it in Chicago. There was a guy named Michael Packer who started it, and he was from New York.
Right.
So he would come into Chicago, and they would, he would seek the advice of certain people, and they would tell him who they thought should be in this. So he passed this year, and so they asked me to do it. And, I managed Carl Weathersby, and I've been promoting blues events around the country for a long time. And so I said, okay, but before I do it, we're going to have to honor a guy named Purvis Spann. Purvis Spann owned the only black radio station in Chicago, WVON. It was the #1 black radio station for many years in the 70s and on into the 80s. He was the biggest black promoter in the United States. When I've been sitting in Purvis's office, and B.B. King's manager calls him up and gives him 52 dates to plan. Aretha Franklin come to Chicago, and the first thing she asks another promoter, is Spann involved with this? Well, if Mr. Spann's not involved, I can't play.
Oh.
Okay. This is how he was. He was the one that crowned B.B. King the king of the blues at the Regal Theater. Okay. Nobody had ever said to B.B. King that you're the king until Spann crowned him a king, gave him a crown and everything. It was a big thing.
Wow.
Same thing with Aretha Franklin. He crowned Aretha Franklin the Queen of Soul in the Regal. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he was the one that did that. So for them not to honor him was absolutely I couldn't take it. So, so he's going to be the first Pioneer Award.
And what's his name again, Garland?
His name is Purvis Spann.
Purvis, P-U-R-V-I-S?
P-E-R-V-I-S.
Oh, okay. And that last name again?
Spann, S-P-A-N-N.
Oh, okay. Now,
Spann was doing these shows, and there was another
who's
guy
actually
in Chicago who's from, huh?
No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure the audience understood and extremely clear that what Brother Garland is telling you, and he's speaking it clearly, but for those of you who are not receiving it, Purvis Spann played an intricate part in the global, let alone American, reception of race records and black artists. So he could easily be deemed the one who made black artists what they are today, because black artists are like at the top of the food chain in terms of where everything comes from. So he made it acceptable, right? Okay, go ahead, Brother Garland. Sorry about that.
When the little hippies started this quote unquote discovering artists in 1963 and there, Spann and them were laughing at them because they had always played them.
I hear that.
They always played these guys. So they weren't a discovery for Spann and them. They always played them. But the next guy that we're going to honor is a guy named Herman Roberts. Herman Roberts had the largest black nightclub in the United States, the Roberts Show Lounge, in the late 50s and the early 60s.
All right.
He was paying Sammy Davis Jr. $5,000 a week then.
Oh,
wow!
To play in his club. Okay. There was a comic that he was playing. His name was Dick Gregory.
Okay.
Dick Gregory was a regular at his place, and what was happening in Chicago was that the hippies were on the north side, these rich suburban hippies.
Sure.
But they wanted to hear black music.
Right.
So Herman would let them in. They didn't want to come to the front door, so Herman would let them in the back door.
Wait, time out.
Was a guy named.
Wait, hold on. Let me just be clear. So you're saying it was the reverse treatment. These white hippies from the other side of the track had to go in through the back door.
By choice.
They didn't want to stand out. They didn't want to stand out on the street to get in.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
This is 1960. This is 1960, 1959. They look awful strange. They look like the police.
Absolutely.
They're all dressed up. Dressed up.
Okay, so safety purposes. Okay, go ahead.
Herman would let them in the back door.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of these hippies was a guy named Hugh Hefner.
Wow.
Hugh Hefner?
Hugh Hefner is from Chicago, and him and his buddies used to come to the Herman's show lounge.
Okay.
About the time that he was starting what became known as the Playboy Club downtown. They had never had any black performers performing downtown. They would not even, and I'll get to this part of the story. The hotels had a policy that they would not rent to blacks. Okay? Now, only somebody that could afford to go downtown to rent were entertainers. They were making money.
Of course.
Somebody coming up to see their aunt or uncle didn't want to come downtown. They couldn't afford it, whether they let them in there or not. So the black entertainers could not, Sammy Davis could not rent a room downtown.
Of course.
Okay? So what Herman did, Herman said, well, I'm going to build a hotel next to the club.
Okay.
And so he built a 50-room motel. All right? Getting back to Hugh Hefner started being a regular at Herman's place. So he got to know most of the black entertainers like Johnny Hartman, Billy Eckstein, and this comic named Dick Gregory. And one day there was a comic named Professor Irwin Cohen. Have you ever heard of him?
No,
I haven't.
Well, he was a white comic in the late 50s, early 60s. He canceled on Hugh Hefner. Hugh called Dick Gregory, and thus made Dick Gregory the first black comic to play downtown Chicago.
Okay.
Wow.
The rest of it is history. After that,
all right.
Dick Gregory went on the Jack Paar show, which was the Tonight Show.
Right.
Right.
And Dick's whole thing was he wasn't going. They asked him to come on the Tonight Show after they saw him at the Playboy Club, and he said, "Well, I'm not going to come on the Playboy Club because I'm not going to come on the Tonight Show because let the black guests sit at the desk with Jack and ask questions. They just come out and say, Nat King Cole's been on there and all that. They just come there and sit there and they don't ask them nothing. So they said, well, Dick, we're gonna let you come and sit on the couch, okay? So that's why he came on the Tonight Show. All of this stem from Herman. All of this stemmed from Herman Roberts. Not only is Herman gonna get our award, but our U.S. Congressman, his name is Bobby Rush.
Okay.
He's a U.S. Congressman from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And he is going to give a congratulatory letter to Bobby, to Herman, and to Purvis Spann that's going to be read into the congressional record.
Nice.
Right.
This is going to be a big thing. This
Now
is going to be
that
a very
awesome.
big thing.
Now, that's how you're supposed to do it. Now, let me ask you this, Garland. Okay. Why is it important to make sure not only the men that you named are inducted, though late, but inducted? Why is it important for this to go down literally in congressional history? And why is it important for the Blues Hall of Fame to not only represent hardworking, unnoticed musicians and the like, but the descendants of this culture and music that were innovators? Why is this important?
Well, I think the most important thing about this, and the reason why that it's relevant to us, and I say us as Americans, not just black Americans, but Americans.
Yes.
The blues is a genre of music that was created, performed by the grandchildren of American slaves. It's written in the dialect of the grandchildren of American slaves. A lot of people have trouble with the lyrics and the lyrics to these songs because they're written in the dialect of American slaves. Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf were the grandchildren of slaves.
Okay.
Yes, they were.
Okay, that's what they were. That's what they were, and they spoke in the dialect that they heard at their house.
All right. Go ahead, Garland. Garland.
So the lyrics and the rhythm pattern and all of that, it's very hard to duplicate. It's very hard for someone who's not of that culture and has not studied that culture to duplicate. So
that's right.
It doesn't matter what key that you discover that Lil Walter's harmonicas in, you don't sound like him.
That's right.
if you try to imitate, you'll never sound like him because you don't have that inbred something.
Experience.
I don't know what it is, but
that feeling.
They tried to simplify it. They tried to simplify it and say that feeling, but it's more than that.
It's
It's more than that. It's a life experience. It's a, we talk.
I'll give you an example. I know what you're saying. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
When I was a young boy, around my youngest son's age, about 10 years old, I would go to school, and I went to a diverse school in the projects of Brooklyn, right? St. Agnes. So you had Italians, Latino, and blacks. And my grandmother, who was from Mississippi, and she talked like it, she walked like it, and laughed like it until she transcended. When she would get upset with one of us or even one of her kids, which was my mother or my uncles and aunts, her favorite line that came from her 100% Indian Mississippian mama was, "Child, is you smelling your pee?" So now,
Yeah.
I went to school, and I'm tail end civil rights. I'm post civil rights. So I went to school as this was closing, and and we still played the dozens. So this kid tried to what we used to call, y'all remember, we used to call a rake on me. So I couldn't think of nothing else. So I said, "You must be smelling your pee." So the Italian and the white kid looks around to all the Spanish and black kids. What is he talking about? What does that mean? So the kid goes to the other black kid. He goes, "Yo." He literally said, "You're black like him. What does that mean?" He said, "It means you just got dissed. You got raped on."
Yeah.
But the point,
and that's what folks now do when they start trying to decipher the lyrics of a Howlin' Wolf or a Muddy Waters. I got into an argument. I got into an argument on Facebook with a guy who took a lyric that Muddy Waters did, and Muddy Waters said something about, "I've been working on the line. I'm a lineman." So he wants to know, what does he mean by that? He said, well, now this is his conclusion. He said, well, during that time in Chicago, they had trolleys. So maybe Muddy Waters was a conductor on the trolley.
Wow.
I said, no, he wasn't no conductor in the 40s in Chicago on no trolley. They didn't have that. He said, well, I don't know what did he mean by that? I said, this is what's frustrating about the discoverers, so to speak. They want to discover the music, but they don't take time to discover the culture.
All right.
In Chicago, they had trolley lines just like they had in New York. Okay, and the linemen were the people who cleaned off the line.
Right.
It was a very dangerous job. 3 or 4 people got killed every year doing that.
Right.
So the whites that were working did not want the job. The blacks that were from Chicago had got hip to it. They didn't want the job. So the only somebody they could get to do the job was what? The newly arrived blacks from the South. They were the ones that were the linemen.
The migrants.
Going to man-child in the promised land.
Or as Carl Weatherby told me the other day, my people was immigrants from Mississippi.
That's right.
How can you be an immigrant from Mississippi?
That's right.
That's
it is the truth.
But listen, Garland and Jack, I was thinking about when we were talking about the lyrics. I can recall. Let me ask you if you ever heard the term Rochanels.
Rochanel.
No.
No. Break it down.
Well, I for years did not know. I used to hear my grandmother and the neighbors. Child, I had me a crop of them Rochanels, and I would always ask, what in the world is Rochanels? And I finally I probably was 30 years old when I realized he was talking about roasting ears of corn.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the dialect, the language of black folk.
The dialect. Yes. I used to, listen. My mother was from Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Okay, and we would go every summer, and stay all summer with my mother's sister. And I used to think my mother's sister was the baddest woman in the town.
All right.
Why? Because she would tell people, she'd sit on her porch and speak to people coming by. How you feel? And my aunt would say, fine, and you? Now, I'm thinking she's saying to them, I'm doing finer than you are. And I said, these people must be scared.
Wow, what an interpretation.
They ain't said nothing. Man, the Maya ain't Lily's bad mama, baby. They scared to say something to her. So,
well, listen, hey, Garland, at least yours was being nice about it. My grandmother used to ask people, "Child, how's your cataract scratching?"
Oh my goodness. Okay,
and
guys,
I would
listen.
be listening to see how. Listen, I would listen to see how they would respond. And one woman said, "Child, it's so slow, I can't hardly touch it."
Oh my goodness. All right, guys. So listen, we got to do this. We have to do this again. We about 44 seconds before the broadcast ends. I just want Garland to quickly tell everybody what time, where they can get the tickets for Sunday.
It's going to be 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We're selling tickets online at buddyguide.com. The price is $20. We're going to have about 3 hours of music and induction. We're going to have 3 surprise inductions. These are blues artists who are pretty well known, but they don't know that they're going to be inducted.
All right.
So we're gonna make them cry.
And
we told them.
I hear that.
Told them, look, buddy, got to stock up on the tissues because we're gonna have some crying eyes in there.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. And that's Central Time, right?
That's
for those that are not
time. 2 o'clock Central Time. Yeah.
Okay.
Now
and
we will
it's
also
Facebook Live.
Be streaming live. We'll be streaming live on BuddyGuide.tv. So those that are not in Chicago, please tune in and check us out.
Oh, wow.
Groovy. Groovy. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this was phenomenal. We got to do this again. I'm even right now considering how to talk y'all into coming on every Friday because this this is real. I'm telling you the truth. I really appreciate it. I wish we had more time. Don't forget, if you want to keep hearing this, y'all have to donate to Jack Dappa Blues Heritage Preservation Foundation. For more of this, we broadcast live every day, Monday through Friday from 11 to 1. The archives go up on YouTube, the YouTube channel. The website is going to be on iTunes shortly and all those other platforms.
And please post it to our group, Jack, on Facebook.
Absolutely. As soon as I'm out of Facebook jail.
All right.
I put up a little picture of you in the Facebook jail.
Well, Jack, I'm gonna say, baby, I love you, and I just appreciate your commitment for what you're doing, and I just pray that you can keep it going.
Thank you. I take all prayers. That's more important.
We're going to try to keep it going. And I appreciate you, Ms. Nathan, and I'm so happy to meet you.
And, hey, likewise here. And what's your last name again?
Floyd.
Floyd.
Garland Floyd. All right. So pleased to have met you.
Yeah, make sure you guys link off air.
On social media, wherever you are, I'm there. Are you on Facebook?
Oh, yes, Johnnie Nathan. JOHNNIE.
This is what I'll do.
Make me your friend, and we'll hook up, and we'll put you. Jack and I administer a group called Blues Debate and Discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll put you in our group.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, right now I'm linking you guys in a group message so that this could just could pop off. All right, because Garland's really active, Johnny's really active. We got to get this going. All right, but we closing. Y'all blues people, y'all know what it is. You're going to learn them blues. You're going to learn them black spirituals, them sorrow songs, them cone ditties, them reels, them field hollers. And we don't just talk about the blues. I hollers them. Miss Johnny sang them, and Garland promotes them. We are doing this, and I'm getting them back on the show. I'm going to talk them into being recurring guests because this can't end like this.
All right. All right.
All right.
Good things never end.
All right.
That's right. All right. No doubt. Likewise. You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
All right, good folk. Y'all know what it is. Miss Nathan, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, love. Bye-bye.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound